It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Ooh, what's going on? It's the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice start to the week. Hopefully you got yesterday off. I did. Very nice to be back. Had a nice time playing pickup hoops, hanging out with the wife, doing all that great stuff. Also watched the college football playoff national championship game last night. Sorry, Notre Dame fans. I know you got really excited, stoked, overjoyed after that opening drive. 9 minutes of pure run it right through your football. It was beautiful. It was fun. It was really fun to watch. You know, Riley Leonard, QB power, running it to the right and then back to the left. 3rd and 1. Oh, that's easy. That first drive was incredibly impressive from Notre Dame. With that being said, Ohio State was clearly the superior team. They were hands down the best team in college football this year, and they proved it through their last 3 games, however many games they played in the playoff. I think it was 3. And it was, 4, because they beat Tennessee and then Oregon and then Texas and then Notre Dame. So, 4 games. That roster's loaded. Every guy that played or started for Ohio State this year will play in the NFL. And they're all very experienced. They're going to return 4 starters next year, maybe, if some of these other guys, don't declare for the draft. This team was loaded. And they lost 2 games, which is still kind of insane. When you look at how good this team is, it took them 12 games, a full regular season, to finally play to their peak level. And it was so much better than everyone else. Notre Dame was a good team this year. Brian Haas, he tweeted at me last night during the game. And usually when Notre Dame's playing and I get tweeted at, it is usually not to say that I was right. But he tweeted at me and he said that I was right. And I would argue I was partially right. Notre Dame was a much better football team than I gave them credit for. But their downfall was the exact thing that I had been talking about all year long, the lack of weapons on the outside. That is where the biggest difference was. And with the injuries that Notre Dame had on defense, it made it really tough to stop Ohio State. Ohio State ran the football for 214 yards. Notre Dame only ran the ball for 53 yards. Notre Dame is a run first, we're going to run the crap out of the football type of team. And they couldn't run the football consistently to save their lives yesterday. They couldn't. And that is ultimately why they lost. Ohio State was just much more physical, much more imposing physically. Ohio State averaged 5.2 yards per carry to Notre Dame's measly 2 yards per carry. It's just not enough. It's not enough. Notre Dame, a team that has been one-dimensional for a lot of the year, and that's not a Riley Leonard hate thing. That is a lack of weapons on the outside thing. Once again, we saw that yesterday. And when you're one-dimensional and you're playing against some of the best teams in college football, it becomes increasingly harder to win. And, I thought another big difference that we saw was on 3rd down. Ohio State owned 3rd down. They were 9 of 12. Tough to win games, just ask Colts fans. When you can't get off the field on 3rd down, Notre Dame was only 5 of 12. Will Howard threw the football whenever he wanted to. The thing is, Ohio State didn't have to throw it. They only threw it 21 times, of which Will Howard was 17 of 21. Here's my favorite stat from last night. Here's the stat that I think fully proves how dominant Ohio State was last night. Notre Dame comes out. They go on that 9-minute, 45-second drive, 18 plays. Riley Leonard runs the football 9 times. He's throwing up on the sideline afterwards. Usually when you have a drive that's 9 minutes and 45 seconds, makes things a little bit easier to win the time of possession battle, something that Notre Dame needed to do to win that game last night. And they lost time of possession. Ohio State had the football for 32 and a half minutes to Notre Dame's 27 and a half minutes. So after that first drive, Notre Dame only had the football for around 15 minutes worth of game time. It was a lot of 3-and-outs. They showed some life late, but it just wasn't enough. Like even when that game was close and Notre Dame cut it down to 8, there was never a second where I even considered the possibility that Notre Dame could win that football game. You just knew that Ohio State was going to make the play that they needed to put Notre Dame away, because that's what great teams do. And this Ohio State team is great. They are. And, they hadn't dialed up a deep ball all game, but when they needed it, Jeremiah Smith, just run as far as you can, and Will Howard's going to throw it to you. And it worked. And, 3 plays later, they kick a field goal, and that was the ball game after that. Ohio State, great team, great year. Let's talk about Notre Dame. They showed who they were last night. And it's an impressive brand of football that people are going to rally behind and people are going to support, in part because it's Notre Dame. And even though I am definitely not a Notre Dame fan, college football is more fun when Notre Dame is relevant. Every great sport needs a villain. Part of why the NFL is great is because, we had a decade of Tom Brady and the Patriots being this dynasty that everyone was competing against. And then as soon as Tom Brady left, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs showed up, and everyone shifted that universal hate from the Patriots and Tom Brady now to the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Notre Dame gives people a team to hate, because it seems like you either love Notre Dame or you can't stand them. Okay? I mean, that's my experience, at least. So this is a good thing. They are going to build off of this. That is what I expect from Notre Dame. They're tough, okay, which they've been, the entire year. It's honestly kind of crazy how tough this team has been. We saw it in that comeback. They did not roll over. If they had been healthy, this game would have been different. Do I think that they would have won? No, but I do think that the game would have been different. They would have had more success stopping the run. They're clearly very well coached. They played much better in the second half on both sides of the football. Even though Notre Dame didn't win, I do think people are going to walk away from this run with a newfound perspective and a newfound respect for Notre Dame. This doesn't look like the team that lost to Marshall and Stanford and Northern Illinois earlier this year. With that being said, I am very intrigued to see how they build off of this. I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's a good coach. He's built a great culture up there in South Bend. But as of right now, after watching that game last night and how dominant Ohio State was, I think we can all come to the conclusion that Notre Dame is not close to winning a national title. Notre Dame looks closer to a Penn State caliber team than a national championship caliber team. They've got a great defense, great running backs, but there's a lack of talent on the outside. Notre Dame has to go out and add receivers, because college football, you've got to have great receivers. You do. Ohio State just won a national title because they had 3 receivers that were awesome. And when I look at Notre Dame and I look at how they recruit, I don't know where they're going to go get great receivers from quickly, because they're going to bring a lot of these guys back next year. Riley Leonard obviously won't be one of them. He's off to the NFL. He'll have a chance to make a roster. Where are they going to go get game-changing receivers? That is the question, because that's really the biggest hole on this Notre Dame team. And one of the very important things to remember about Notre Dame is you can't be dumb and go to Notre Dame. You have to be brilliant. You have to be. It's going to be harder for them to go into the transfer portal and pull out wide receivers that can show up and impact games. next year. And look, finding elite level freshman wide receivers, game changers like Jeremiah Smith, really hard to do. So Notre Dame, they're in a great spot with Marcus Freeman. I'm intrigued to see how they try to build off of this, but they've got a lot of work to do before they can consistently compete with the top end of college football like they did this year. Lou Anaroumo, he has officially been hired as the Indianapolis Colts' new defensive coordinator, and I'm so excited about this. I love this hire because Lou Anaroumo is a good defensive coordinator. I don't care that he just got fired by the Bengals, who didn't make the playoffs. He was in Cincinnati for 6 seasons, and he put together multiple good defenses. 2022 was his best defense. If you're unfamiliar, that was the year they made it to the Super Bowl. Everyone is going to remember Joe Burrow because he's the quarterback, but make no mistake about it, the reason why the Bengals got to play against the Rams in the Super Bowl 3 years ago is because of the defense that Lou Anaroumo coached. He beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That's pretty freaking impressive. That year, 2022, this is 3 years ago, the Bengals ranked 7th in yards allowed. They were ranked 5th in points allowed. They were 10th in red zone defense, and they gave up the 11th fewest third down conversions in the NFL. They were good on third down. They were good in the red zone, which are the two most important things when you look at a defense. Two things that the Colts have been abysmal at these last, however many years Gus Bradley's been here. He's going to show up and make this defense better. Now, in the playoffs that same year, against the best teams in the NFL, the Bengals defense gave up 20.5 points per game during that playoff run. Last year, they didn't make the playoffs. Didn't happen because Joe Burrow got hurt. But the defense was still good. They gave up more yards and more points because they were on the field more. That's what happens when you have a quarterback that can't keep the offense on the field. Their red zone defense, though, was still 11th in the NFL. They were still 11th in third down defense. The total numbers just went up because they were on the field more. Then, going into this year, something happened. The defense for the Cincinnati Bengals this year was awful. It was not good. Atrocious. But here's why. The Cincinnati Bengals decided, rightfully so, to give Joe Burrow a huge extension, right? Made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at the time. Obviously, it's Dak Prescott now. And they had to put some money away to extend Jamar Chase, which still hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen here at some point, you would think. And so when you have to save money for that extension and you have to pay Joe Burrow, you have to get rid of important players. The Bengals got rid of their all-pro safety in Jesse Bates. B.J. Hill, their best defensive tackle, is no longer on the team. Joseph Osai isn't there anymore. He was their third best pass rusher. Sam Hubbard has regressed as he's gotten older. Von Bell, their other safety, he's not there anymore. They have lost several good, impactful defensive players. And that's what happens when you sign your quarterback to a big deal. And so the Bengals did what a lot of teams have done, what we've seen the Chiefs do. They kept a lot of their better offensive pieces, and they said, you know what? We're going to invest heavily in the NFL draft on defensive players. And those defensive draft picks have not panned out. It's hard to win games and be good on defense when you do not have good players. That is the reality of every single sport. You can be a good coach, have bad players, and get fired. Or you can be someone like Ed Ogeron at LSU, not be a very good coach, but have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, along with a plethora of other great players, and win a national title because of it. When Lou Anaroumo had good players in Cincinnati, his defenses were good. That is the reality of what happened with Anaroumo in Cincinnati. And if you talk to any Bengals fan, I'm hoping to get a couple guys from Cincinnati on this week where we'll talk a little more in-depthly about this. But when he had good players, the defenses that Lou Anaroumo was able to put together and put out on that field were good. Now, do the Colts have good players on defense? No, they do not. Seriously, I mean, all pro linebackers, Ira Franklin. All right. Seriously, like they are going to have to address the talent issue on defense. Everything that I've read on this speaks to a style change, right? Lou Anaroumo runs a very different defense than Gus Bradley. Because of that, the types of players that you need are different. And I am hoping, really hoping, that because of this style change and the need for different types of players on defense, I hope that this moves Chris Ballard to actually go out in free agency and get the type of players that Lou Anaroumo needs in order to put a good defensive product on the field. I do not expect for this Colts defense to be top 10 or anything like that next year. I do expect them to be better than what they have been, though, which isn't saying much. Lou Anaroumo is a good hire, got interviewed by multiple teams, and hopefully, he can, bring a little bit of that 2022 Bengals magic with him and help the Colts put together a fantastic defense. Speaking of things that are fantastic, coming up at 11 o'clock, Taylor Langston is set to join the show. We're going to talk more about Ohio State and Notre Dame, how that game went last night. Luke Goode. Oh, baby. Friday night, had a bunch of buddies over, right? We're watching the game, playing video games while we're watching the game. And every time I looked up, Luke Goode was getting buckets, backing up the talk, which is an incredibly important thing to do. My thoughts on Luke Goode, 23 points on the road against Ohio State when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice start to your week. Hopefully if you had yesterday off and hopefully you're settling back well into whatever your work week looks like. Coming up at 11, my guy Taylor Langston is set to join the show. We'll talk about Ohio State beating Notre Dame last night. Luke Goode backing up his talk. I'm in a great basketball mood right now. I played pickup yesterday, got so many buckets, just an incredible amount of buckets, more buckets than you've probably ever seen before. Snatched somebody's ankles. It was a really good day for me yesterday out there on the court. So Luke Goode, though, he had an even better day on Friday night. I mean, on the road against Ohio State, following the Illinois game where he, walked up to the microphone, he sat down, and he said this.
To all those fans that were booing and, are so negative on social media, just don't switch sides when we get this thing turned around. We all got the confidence in our teammates, got the confidence in our coaches. So just stay on that side when we start being successful again.
Luke Goode saying, don't come back when we start winning. And, he tweeted that. And so I had a little fun. They won that game. And I tweeted out some smart aleck comments, something along the lines of, if you were upset when Indiana lost to Illinois, you cannot celebrate this victory, per Luke Goode. It was a ballsy thing to do. It takes balls to sit up there and say that. Should he have said it? Absolutely not. But still, required balls to be able to say that. And if you do say that, then you better be great your next time out. If he had stunk it up against Ohio State, the people would have been all over him. All over him. You're going to, tell us what we should and shouldn't do, and you're going to tell us to leave and not come back, and then you're going to go out and play, like that. Nah, he said, I'm getting 23. I'm dropping a career high tonight. That was the best game of his career. And he was a large part of why Indiana beat Ohio State in overtime. Now, let's also just be clear on something. Ohio State's not a great team. They're 10-8 now. Let's do it against someone who's, a little bit better. They're playing Northwestern tomorrow night. This is another game that they should win. Will they win? I don't know. That, the way that they, being able to go on the road to Ohio State, because winning road games in conference isn't easy. So being able to go on the road and win a game against an Ohio State team that is at least tough and plays hard and does all those things, that's, somewhat impressive, I guess. It gives me a little bit more faith in this team to go on the road to Northwestern tomorrow night and win that game. But we'll see. The matchup predictor has, given Northwestern a great chance to win that game. But Luke Goode against Ohio State, 23 points, 7 of 14 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. That's what good players do. They play well when their team needs them to. And Indiana needs a leader. They do. And I don't know if I'd call Luke Goode a leader or anything like that, but he set a tone with that press conference. Just this expectation of, hey, we are going to win games. Earlier in the year, when they were struggling, there's that viral clip of Luke Goode in the huddle, clapping at dudes and yelling and trying to get guys going, which is great. You need players on your team like that. I think Luke Goode is a really competitive kid. And we saw that on Friday night. He played his butt off, defended, shot the crap out of the ball, played 41 minutes. And he was the best player on the floor for those 41 minutes. Okay, and he had to be. He had to be on the floor for Indiana to have any semblance of a chance. So congrats to him. Way to back up all the talking for one game. You got to go out and do it again. Because if you're bad, then it doesn't matter that you were great against Ohio State. People will come after you if you're bad against Northwestern. So congrats to him. Hopefully he can keep it going. Indiana desperately needs his shooting. and he's the only reliable shooter on the roster. Anthony Leal started in that game, which I liked. I think he's just a smart player. I think he's always in the right spot. He knows how to cut. He plays good team defense. He does all those things. With that being said, he played 31 minutes on Friday night, and he only took one shot. That's insane to me. He's a good shooter. We saw it last year in the minutes that he got. He's got to take more than one shot. He has to space the floor and take shots when he's open. And because, this Indiana team needs shooting more than anything else. Like Omar Ballo is going to score on the inside. Whenever Malik Renew comes back, he's going to score on the inside. Like all of those things are fine. They are, right? Like they have interior scoring. What they don't have is consistent shooting out on the perimeter. And they have to have that. And Luke Goode and Anthony Leal are the answer to that problem. They just have to actually get them to take shots, more specifically Anthony Leal, who, despite only taking one shot, I thought he played really well. They are obviously not the only team that won over the weekend. I talked about it a little bit on Friday. Purdue went on the road to Oregon on Saturday and beat a really good Oregon team. I mean, just wildly impressive, being able to go up to Eugene. Winning games on the road are hard. They're even harder when you're moving over 2 time zones. And to be able to go on the road and beat Oregon, one of the 15 best teams in the country, it's impressive. It's eye-opening. Purdue just keeps on rolling. Meanwhile, Indiana's on that roller coaster. They're up right now, which is good, but they lose tonight, it'll come flying right back down. Purdue has now won 7 games in a row, all pretty handily, and they just handled a good Oregon team. And I think the most impressive thing about them is they have found something on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know what it is. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I think part of it has to do with Caleb First. He's given them really good minutes. He's found a role as just, he's 7 feet tall. Just stand in front of the rim and put your arms up, and you're going to impact shots. Right? That's all that they really need him to do, and that's what he's been doing. And he has really helped lift this Purdue defense. The freshmen are starting to contribute. That's important for them because they need other guys who can handle the basketball other than Braden Smith. Speaking of Braden Smith, he and Trey Kaufman-Renn, they're the bucket getters. When Purdue needs a bucket, Trey Kaufman-Renn and or Braden Smith are going to touch the basketball. And they can go get shots for themselves, or they can go get shots for other people. And unlike Indiana, they've got a plethora of shooting. They have so much shooting on their roster that if you leave anybody, except for, Caleb First, but, he's having around the basket for most of the game. If you leave anyone, like, you are liable to give up a 3-point shot. And so when you're defending Purdue, you have to defend these 2 guys who can go get shots in Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. And you have to stay attached to whoever you're guarding off the ball, because if you don't, they will shoot a 3, and they'll probably make it because they're either the first or second best 3-point shooting team in the Big Ten right now. I meant to check that before the show, and I forgot to, but it's them or Iowa. So the offense is good, which isn't surprising. I think everyone expected for Purdue to find a way to score points this year because of all the shooting and the experience that they have. But the defense, that defense is good. It is, and it's why they're winning games. On this 7-game win streak, they have yet to give up 70 points. It's impressive. Oh, also, of those 7 games, in 6 of them, they've held their opponents under 65 points. They held Oregon to 58 on Saturday. Look, once again, I am not smart enough to know what they're doing and how they're getting all these stops. Maybe they're just getting lucky and they're playing teams on nights where they don't shoot the ball very well. But when you do it 7 nights in a row in conference play, something tells me that you figured something out. And this is a Matt Painter thing. Matt Painter is once again doing his thing, just finding a way to win. making, tweaks to who's starting and who's coming off the bench. And it's impressive. It is. And obviously it helps when he has arguably the best player in the country in Braden Smith, who's once again having just a fantastic year. He's gotten better, which is awesome. You love seeing that. And it's the old school thing where freshmen, good player, and then you see them elevate themselves into an All-American. And that's what we're seeing with Braden Smith. Purdue is tough. They are just so incredibly smart. I watch a lot of basketball, NBA, college, whatever. And the number of times that I'll watch a game and have to ask myself a question of like, what were they doing there? Why did they make that decision? Why did they run that set? All that kind of stuff, especially in college basketball. Purdue, I very rarely have to ask myself that question. Now, there are some times where guys make passes that I don't like, and I'm like, that's a bad pass. Like, as great as Purdue was on Saturday beating Oregon, they did turn the ball over 12 times, which, I am not a fan of. Turnovers, very important. Saw that in the Ravens and Bills game. So, yeah, I don't know. This Purdue team's really good. I think they might be the best team in the Big Ten. That's how good I think they are. It's them. Maybe it's Michigan or Michigan State. But the Big Ten, they've got a lot of contenders. And in a weird way, it feels like Purdue's not really being discussed. Like, everyone loves Michigan State because it's Tom Izzo, and they're 16-2, and they're undefeated in the conference so far. Dusty May has been one of the hottest names in coaching for the past few years, and he's at Michigan, and they've got these 2 7-footers who look great together, and they do all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just, But Purdue, they're extremely well coached. They've got a great lead point guard, and yeah, they're going to be really good all year. And as of right now, I would say they're the best team in the Big Ten. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, the best team in the NFL is slowly being unveiled. It's probably going to be the team with the best quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, because, quarterbacks are very, very important in the NFL, really all levels of football. Last week, I gave out NFL awards after the wild card round. We're doing it again. We're giving out NFL awards after the divisional round. This is America, where we give out participation trophies. So every single team gets an award. I will give those out when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Often imitated, never duplicated. The real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? This is the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you have had a nice week. If you had a long weekend, congratulations. I did, and it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Watched a ton of football. Watched Ohio State beat the Notre Dame Fighting Irish last night to win their first national title in, 10, 11 years, however long it's been. Also watched all of the divisional round. And it was awesome, as it always is, because football's great, especially NFL football. And we had an upset. We got more Lamar Jackson stuff to talk about. We've got all sorts of stuff. So let's get into it. Last week, I handed out some NFL awards after the wild card round. We're going to give out more this week to every single team, because this is America, where we give out participation trophies. So without further ado, let's get into the NFL awards. The Matthew McConaughey Uber Eats Award goes to the Detroit Lions. Now, if you haven't seen the Matthew McConaughey commercial, where, he's sitting on the couch and he's talking to Christian McCaffrey and they're doing the whole football makes you hungry bit. And our guy, Matthew McConaughey, looks at Christian McCaffrey and he goes, pancakes, turnovers, I just scored, feed me more. And that's what this Detroit Lions team was all about. Turnovers and pancake blocks. And they just fell in love, I thought, with throwing the football way too much in that game. The Detroit Lions only ran Jahmyr Gibbs 14 times. He averaged 7.5 yards per carry on 14 carries. David Montgomery only carried the football 7 times. It's unacceptable. The Detroit Lions have the best offensive line in football. It's them or Philadelphia. And you're lining it up. You're running at this weak Washington Commanders defense. And you're picking up just chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. Meanwhile, the Commanders offense is just cruising up and down the field. Play ball control. Run the football. Keep Jaden Daniels on the sideline. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. They're like, no, we're going to let Jared Goff throw it 40 times. He threw 3 interceptions. He fumbled the football. They let Jamison Williams, a wide receiver, throw the ball. They were down 10. And he threw a pick. 5 total turnovers. That's about as egregious as the double pass that Shane Steichen called against the Broncos. You just can't do that in that spot. It was a bad call. Ben Johnson, who everybody loves, me included, congrats, he's the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. It's just a bad call. And sometimes good coaches make mistakes. It happens. That was a big one right there, and it's why they lost. So the winner of the Matthew McConaughey Uber Eats Award goes to the Detroit Lions. The next award that we're handing out, we're giving out the Bob the Builder Award, and this award is going to the one and only Jaden Daniels. Yes, we can. The Bob the Builder Award is going to Jaden Daniels. It has to, because this dude just shows up in Washington, D.C. and fixed everything. He fixed everything. And yes, I know Dan Quinn, new coach, and new general manager, new owner, new everything. But Jaden Daniels is so freaking good, I don't think it would have mattered who the owner was or who, the general manager or the coaches. That is how good Jaden Daniels has been. He's just shown up. He's just like, yeah, I played a lot of football in college, thrown a lot of passes. Think I'm going to be okay. And, he seems to have the answers for everything. We've seen him improve over the course of the season. I don't know if you remember, but week 1, week 2, they played the Buccaneers really early. And the Buccaneers were like, we're going to blitz this dude all night. And he struggled, and they got crushed. But he's gotten better. The Lions blitzed him a ton during that game on Sunday or Saturday, whenever that game was. And it didn't work. because he's faster than everybody. If they blitzed him, he would run away from it. And if someone was open, he would find them. Okay? I mean, he was amazing. He wins the Bob the Builder Award because he can fix anything. Whatever franchise that guy played, whatever franchise that drafted that guy, their franchise would have been fixed immediately because he is that good. Is he the best rookie quarterback ever? I've seen Colts fans really arguing for Andrew Luck on this subject. I don't know. I think the fact that Andrew Luck threw 18 interceptions that rookie year should matter a little bit. At the same time, he threw for over 1,000 yards more than anyone else that's even in that discussion. So I don't know. Probably going to do a deep dive on it tomorrow, but we'll see. Jaden Daniels is the winner of the Bob the Builder Award. Now, they say winning is a skill. And you hear that associated a lot with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Winning's a skill. They just know how to win. When you've been here so often, you just know how to win, and it helps you, win close games. So winning is a skill. I would also argue that whining is a skill. And so the whining is a skill award has been awarded to Chiefs haters led by the one and only Will Anderson Jr., edge rusher for the Houston Texans.
He has blessed us and favored us tremendously, man. And I just got to give all the word to him. And we knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. And, I talked to you guys early this week. I was just saying, we got to go out there and we got to do us better. And, in some instances we didn't do that. In some instances we did. So we just got to keep going, man. Next offseason, get the guys together, man. And, everybody just coming together and just keep building that team chemistry and get past this hump.
Will Anderson Jr., Texans edge rusher right there. You hear that opening statement? That's what a soft football team says. Just incredibly soft. Incredibly soft. Oh, we knew it was going to be us against the refs out there. Come on, man. You lost. That's not why you lost either. You lost because you just aren't as good as the Chiefs are. You lost because you made way more mistakes than they did. Even if those two penalties, which, just to not go full Chiefs defense mode here. But look, Mahomes flopped. It's annoying. I get it. People don't like it. I don't blame you for not liking it. But this is what quarterbacks do now. Okay? They do. All right? This is the reality of it. Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay does really similar antics in terms of going down really late, hoping to get hit, and hoping to pick up an extra 15 yards. And guess what? Every quarterback should do it because it's an extra 15 yards. Okay? So please, Chiefs haters, stop whining. Houston Texans fans, stop whining. Okay, you lost because you missed 2 field goals. You missed an extra point. You gave up a 63-yard kickoff return to start the game. You didn't cover Travis Kelce, who had 117 receiving yards. Just the most reliable target Patrick Mahomes has had through his entire career. The Texans didn't even worry about him. Their offensive line gave up 8 sacks. They got into the red zone 3 times, only scored once. They only scored 1 touchdown. Their offense scored 12 points. You didn't lose because of the refs. Stop whining. Quit being soft. Houston Texans fans, you've never made a conference championship game. You're the only team in the NFL that's never made it to a conference title game. And maybe it's because you're soft. That's what it seems like to me. Complaining about the refs, it's not winning in any sport, and it's definitely not winning in football where tough physical teams win. The Polar Bear Award, it's going to the Eagles. Did you know that polar bears can run up to 25 miles per hour on land? That's crazy. That's speeding in a school zone. Just insane. And the Philadelphia Eagles on the snow, like a polar bear, they had 3 40-plus yard rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley had the 2 big ones that both went for over 60, and then Jalen Hurts had his 44-yard scamper for a touchdown. They just ran the football really well on those 3 plays, and those 3 plays are why they won. The Rams had a chance to steal that game late, but a miscommunication along the offensive line, rookie center, makes a mistake, right? And that's why experience is so incredibly valuable. They make that one mistake. Jalen Carter, who, man, that's one of the last people in the world I would ever want to chase me, comes through, not even touched. And he sacks Matthew Stafford, and that was kind of it at that point. So the Polar Bear Award goes to the Eagles, and I can't wait to watch them play the Commanders, because I think the Commanders actually have a pretty decent chance to win that game, just because Jalen Hurts hasn't been great throwing the football, and I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because he missed quite a bit of time with his concussion, but they don't look great right now. So we'll see how that goes with their game against the Commanders, the third time that they're going to play this year. Can't wait to watch that one. The next award that we're giving out is the Dynasty Award. Heath Barr saying that Mahomes is definitely getting the Brady treatment now. Yeah, like he should, because he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Dynasties win games when they don't play great. We see this in every single sport. The Warriors did it on their finals run in 2022. The Patriots did it several times during their dynasty. And now the Chiefs are doing it literally every week this year. Every single week. They've really only lost one game. And that was when, because their other loss to the Broncos came in week 18 when they sat all of their starters. And they've only won every other one except for one. And the one that they lost to, coincidentally, was against the Bills. And yeah, I'm not betting against this team, man. One of my really good buddies, he was texting me. He is a huge Chiefs fan. Has been for a while. So he's not, a bandwagon guy. And he just texted me, telling me all the reasons why they were going to lose to now the Bills at the time. That game hadn't happened yet. And so he was like, the Chiefs will not beat whoever they play in the AFC Championship game. Just kind of like, I don't know, man. They just kind of find a way. And they found a way last year. I think they're better this year than they were last year. They're healthy. Like, their two starting corners are playing. Hollywood Brown is playing. Travis Kelce's pretty healthy. Guys look good when they haven't played in 24 days. They just look fresher. And yeah, I'm not picking against that team. The next award we're giving out is the Greased Pig Award. It's going to the Rams. Those two fumbles were big. They were crucial. Okay, the Eagles kicked 2 field goals off of the 2 fumbles that the Rams lost. And when you're the lesser team and you lose the turnover battle, you're not winning that football game. And that's what happened to the Rams on Sunday. The next award is the Dwight Schrute Award. It goes to Lamar Jackson. Dwight Schrute, known as the assistant to the regional manager, not the assistant regional manager. It's very easy to confuse those two things. And Lamar Jackson is going to get a lot of blame. I've got the TV going in here, and I'm seeing all of these. Did Lamar Jackson waste this season? Can Lamar Jackson be the guy? Seeing all those stupid topics. And Lamar Jackson's going to get a lot of the blame for the loss because he's the quarterback, and he turned it over twice. When you throw a fair catch interception the way that Lamar Jackson did on that first one, it's not great. It's not a good look. And then you fumble it, trying to make a play. But outside of those 2 possessions that happened back-to-back, they moved the ball. Lamar Jackson played really well aside from those 2 possessions. And the guy that really, if you want to, do blame pie, the guy who gets the majority of it is Mark Andrews. He's the one who fumbled the football when they were moving it down the field to take the lead. They're down 5. They're moving it. They hit Mark Andrews wide open in the middle of the field. Great play by the Bills to come in and punch it out. It was impressive. And then the Bills jump on it. And then, of course, the 2-point conversion drop. It's brutal. Those 2 plays were bigger than the interception or the fumble that Lamar Jackson had. He had them in the game in spite of those 2 turnovers. So people are going to be upset at Lamar Jackson. I don't think he should be. The dude's still one of the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He lost to Josh Allen. It's not like he lost to the Titans and Ryan Tannehill like he did 4 years ago. That sounds right. So Yeah, like he lost to Josh Allen on the road in Buffalo. It happens. Okay. Good quarterbacks lose games all the time. Fun fact, Peyton Manning started 3-5 in the playoffs in his career. Lamar Jackson is also 3-5 in the playoffs. The last award that we're giving out here is the Patrick Ewing Award. If it wasn't for Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing would be a much bigger legend in the basketball world. He's obviously a Knicks legend, but he didn't compare to a lot of these other guys. And it's because he lost to Michael Jordan in the NCAA title game. And then he went 0-5 against Michael Jordan in playoff series. That's who Josh Allen is right now. If Patrick Mahomes ceased to exist, Josh Allen would probably have at least one Super Bowl, maybe a second. But he just can't seem to get over this Mahomes-sized hump. He is the Patrick Ewing to Patrick Mahomes' Michael Jordan. And he finally has an opportunity to get over the hump on Sunday. I can't wait. This game's going to be awesome. And hopefully it fully delivers as Chiefs and Bills in the playoffs usually does. Speaking of delivering, my guy, Taylor Langston, he's going to deliver. We're going to talk Ohio State and Notre Dame, that whole national championship game, when we come back here in about 4.5 minutes.
It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? It's the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you had a nice weekend. If your weekend was extended, even better. Congratulations to you. Joining me now, the one and only Taylor Langston. I've had him on once before this year, and he was great, so we had to bring him back. Taylor, what's going on, man?
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, all of Indiana.
All of Indiana. That's right. The whole state. Last night, man.
Congrats to the Buckeyes.
Yeah, seriously. Congrats to Zach Gray. I had to talk to him for 40 minutes last night after the game, and you know him. He was overjoyed. What were your just initial thoughts on the game? More specifically, how did you think Notre Dame looked?
Out talented. I mean, you know, just you're not. It's going to be hard to compete with Ohio State and the talent they have, and I think they put it all together finally. And I mean, I think Marcus Freeman got everything he could out of that Notre Dame team. I think they're good. I think they'll be better with him moving forward, but just a talent mismatch, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really what it was. It was really funny. You know, I saw this tweet, and it said, you know, sometimes, you know, we do all this, you know, analysis, and sometimes it's really as simple as who has the better players, which I found really interesting, Taylor, because people keep telling me that the Big Ten is better than the SEC. But when you look at the NFL draft, the SEC has better players. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, no. I still agree. I think the draft is still a year or two behind in terms of. I do think the Big Ten was better this year and last year, but you know, I think we're going to see a Mason Graham, a Will Johnson from Michigan early, Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith in the years coming. But I think just what held the SEC back this year was quarterback play. Carson Beck was not good. And I think that's kind of what's holding them back from being on top.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think we saw it last night as well. Like Will Howard, and part of it is the receivers. Obviously, the guys that Will Howard's throwing to are way better than the guys that Riley Leonard was throwing to. But I thought Will Howard looked way better than Riley Leonard last night. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100% agree. And I thought Riley Leonard looked really good. I thought he made when he just went out there and played. You know, there on the kind of the 2-minute towards the end of the fourth quarter, and you know, he made some really impressive passes. But Will Howard, that's the guy I felt like we were expecting to see all year. Starting at the Tennessee game is when it seemed like he showed up, and you know, kind of all that matters. He got a natty, so.
Yeah, he did, and he played great. Really, from that Oregon game on, he played really well, and it was really impressive. So I've got a couple questions for you that I was writing down last night as the game was going on, and we kind of touched on this topic, but I want to go back for it. So I've got two questions. Who's more disappointed? You ready? Who's more disappointed? Molly McGrath not getting to follow Marcus Freeman around anymore, or do you think Marcus Freeman is more disappointed that Molly McGrath doesn't have to follow him around anymore? Because I don't know if you noticed, every chance they had to put those two people on camera together, they did.
I'm going to choose option C, and that's me being disappointed that I don't get to see Molly McGrath anymore on TV. But and every other male, you know, males on this earth. So that's option C.
That's funny. That is the best answer. Who's more disappointed that Ohio State won? Notre Dame fans or SEC fans?
I think Notre Dame fans. Honestly, I don't think I still think the SEC is, you know, give I think Texas NIL, Texas A&M NIL, Georgia NIL can compete with all them. They just got to get the quarterback right, I feel like. And Georgia's got to get weapons on the outside. But Notre Dame, I mean, is Marcus Freeman gone? That's what I'm sitting there thinking. Is he going to, is he going to take an NFL job? Surely not. I think he can build a good program there, but it's you kind of had a good chance there if you don't kick that field goal. I still don't think they win it, but you had a better chance than you've ever had in the last national championship since we've been alive. If you're Notre Dame.
Yeah, good old Brian Kelly just not getting it done. But and I think that you're right. The Notre Dame season, very uplifting for them. Finally back really in the mix for the first time in a long time. And I had a really hard time buying into them because I just felt like they were one-dimensional all year. They could really only run the ball. They remind me a lot of Penn State. Good quarterback, good everything except for wide receivers. And I thought that was ultimately their downfall this year. Do you think that this is a jumping off point for them, though? Like, do you think that we continue to see Notre Dame competing for national titles going forward?
I still think I think the NIL will help Notre Dame. I do. I know this is not a really good sample size. I know two people that are alums of Notre Dame. I think one's a neurosurgeon and the other one, is some sort of surgeon. So plenty of money going to Notre Dame if they need for NIL. I think Marcus Freeman is the man for the job. And I think I was very impressed with the Great House receiver. I thought he had a big, played really well last night. I thought he was better than anybody Penn State had on the outside. And Jeremiah Love didn't show up. But no, I think, continue to get a good portal quarterback like Riley Leonard or develop one. I still think Notre Dame, this could be just the start for them, honestly.
I hope you're right in the idea that Notre Dame being good in college football is good for the sport. Here's an interesting thing, though, about Notre Dame. How do you think, like you can't be dumb and go to Notre Dame? Like, you've got to be really smart. How do you think the required GPA to get in there, how do you think that challenges them to build off of this going forward?
Yeah, I could see that. But if we're being honest, if Notre Dame wants a guy to play football there, they're going to figure out a way for that guy to play football there. It's just like SC, just like Alabama wouldn't pay him players. It's they'll figure out a way.
They weren't, man. Apparently, Nick Saban got super fired up when Shane Gillis accused him of that. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh yeah. No, Shane's scared to be around him now. It's a pretty funny deal.
Nick Saban's a scary dude, man. That guy, he gets all serious, and it's just, he's still a coach. Like he'll still chew you out. I think it's great, honestly.
Oh yeah, what a great addition to College Game Day, and hopefully he doesn't listen, to this radio show, or he might have some words for me and you. But
Nah, I don't think he paid players. I know other people do, but I don't think he did. But then again,
I agree.
But I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't matter. For Ohio State, I hate we do this every year, Taylor, and it drives me crazy. Joined by my good friend Taylor Langston, talking, Ohio State beating Notre Dame last night. We do this every year. Every team that wins a national title in college football is really good. Every single one that wins a title is really good. But it doesn't mean that they could be the best team ever. And sure enough, I get on Twitter this morning and people are throwing out, is Ohio State the best team ever? I don't think that they are. I don't think that they're really close. Where do you stand with that question?
I agree with you. I don't think they're the best team ever. This team, it has some holes in it, as you can see. But I think they have generational type players on this team, like Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith. I don't know if there's ever going to, top receiver in the past 10 years, top receiving prospect, is what they're calling Jeremiah Smith. And then Caleb Downs talking about being a top pick next year. I think you have two of possibly the best players we've seen in a long time in college football, but as a team as a whole, I don't agree with that. I think they're very talented, but I don't think they're better than last year's Michigan or 2021 or 2022 Georgia. But still a really talented team.
They are. Do you think, because my holdup with it is, like, they just weren't consistent all year. They lost to Oregon early. They lost to Michigan. If they had played how they did in the playoff all year, I think they'd have an argument. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yes, I would agree. But also I keep comparing them to that Michigan team last year. We knew, and I know Ohio State lost their center this year, but I knew the two interior O linemen for Michigan. When do you know an interior O lineman's name for Michigan, or any college football team? It's like, they were really good. They were stacked all 22. So that's really what I'm comparing them to, just because they're rivals and it is recent. But hey, I'd love to see that game the way they played at the end of this year and that Michigan team last year. That'd be a great game.
It would be. Look, I think you're exactly right. Like, talent-wise, they are generational. I mean, every guy that started for them is probably going to play in the NFL, or at least have some sort of chance. I just don't think that the consistency was there that we saw from, like, 2019 LSU or the Michigan team last year or any other team, really. How does this national title affect your view of Ryan Day?
Still can't stand him solely because of Zach Gray. Honestly, I really respect Ryan Day. Everything he's been through, it's really impressive. With his mental health, I do have a lot of respect for him. And good for him. He deserves one. Happy for him, but not happy for Ohio State or their fans.
Joined by my good friend Taylor Langston, talking about Ohio State beating Notre Dame last night. Yeah, I feel pretty similar. Like, I'm glad for him because, like, he's been one of the 5 best coaches in college football. It's like he just couldn't beat Kirby Smart, who's the best coach in college football. To me it's kind of like the Lamar Jackson thing. Like, he lost to Josh Allen on Sunday. Like that, I don't think that should be an indictment. It's like, oh, you lost to someone who's better than you are. Whoop-de-doo. Like, it happens sometimes. So I'm with you. I'm glad for him. I'm kind of disappointed though. The hope was Ohio State would lose and then lose to Michigan again next year, and they'd fire him, and then Arkansas would hire him. But that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah. That's why Marcus Freeman's putting off the NIL or NFL. He's waiting to come to Arkansas. Really.
That's right.
So.
That's exactly right, because Arkansas is definitely a better job than Notre Dame. I guess we'll find out this next year. As soon as Notre Dame got good, they've got to play the Hogs, because that's just the way that it works for Arkansas.
Yep. I just love the fact that we get to play 2 of the 4 teams in the Final Four. We have Texas and Notre Dame next year, so it's a good year to go 12-0.
It's a great year to go 11-1 if they do that. No, they can go 10-2. It'll be great. Can I throw a theory at you?
Oh yeah.
I think that Ohio State fans love the expanded playoff because now it doesn't matter that Michigan beats them every year. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And what's funny? I have a friend who doesn't really watch college football, and he asked me yesterday, he said, so when this 12-team playoff was introduced, I thought that was the whole point of it, was to keep teams like Ohio State and Notre Dame out of the playoff or out of the final. And I thought, that's actually, that's really spot on, and they're the ones in it. So it's just kind of funny how it worked out. But
I think it's great. Last thing for you, Taylor, and I'll let you go. Did you enjoy the 12-team playoff?
Oh, totally. I think there needs to be small tweaks made to it. But I think it was incredible. Viewership had to be up, maybe not for the championship game, just because I didn't like where it was scheduling wise with the divisional playoffs in the NFL. But I think they make some tweaks to it. I think it's incredible. I think it's great already, but still has room to grow.
I agree. Are the tweaks that you want to make related to seeding? Because that kind of seems what everyone wants to tweak.
Seeding and scheduling, like time of year per se. But yes, seeding as well.
You would move it up, I'm assuming, like have the national title game before the playoffs start for the NFL?
Yeah, and I don't know. I would like that. And then also, like, what are these kids NIL as well? What if these Ohio State players, some of them want to transfer? Can they still transfer now, or how does that work? Because the semester's already started. I know they're not all going to school, but it's some tweaks need to be made for sure.
I would agree. Yeah, I would totally agree. Taylor, thanks for your time, man. As always. Last thing for real right here. Give me your Super Bowl pick.
Oh, Bills, no doubt. It's Josh's year.
No doubt. No doubt is like that. Those are two big words right there. You don't have a little bit of doubt there.
Year, I don't know if I'll ever watch NFL.
You said if it's not his year, you don't know if you'll ever watch another NFL game? Is that what you just said?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can handle him not winning one this year. Him or Lamar, one of them has to beat Pat. And I love Pat, but somebody's got to beat Mahomes.
Are you as upset at the flopping as everybody else?
Hey, as Mike Vrabel says, good teams know the rules. Great teams know how to use the rules against you. So I respect it. Don't like it, but I respect it.
That's where I'm at. My thing is, I think every quarterback should do this. Like, if you can pick up an extra 15 yards, you should do it, without a doubt. I mean,
100%.
It's common sense. Like you said, good teams know the rules. Great teams know how to use them to their advantage. And yes, like obviously, I don't like it, but yeah, like whatever you got to do to win.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, I totally agree.
Taylor, thanks for your time, man. As always, you were great. I guess if the Bills end up playing for the Super Bowl and they win it, we'll have to have you on again.
That's right. Hey, I will say I called the Ohio State upset over Oregon. The other person on this radio station right now said the opposite, not saying any names.
Did I pick Oregon to beat Ohio State? Did I do that?
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember. I make so many takes. I was really good at writing them down, and then I stopped. And I need to start doing that again. I completely forgot that I said that.
Oh yeah, somewhere in there, you definitely threw in there that Ohio State was going to win it. So you were right somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably after they beat Oregon, I was like, yeah, this is toast. It's all Ohio State. It's all Ohio State. Taylor, thanks for your time, man. See ya.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
That is my good friend Taylor Langston talking a little bit of college football. Good guy, pays attention to everything, and it was a blast. When we come back here in about 4 minutes or so, Luke Goode walking the walk, backing up his talk. We love to see it. My thoughts on Luke Goode when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unfiltered takes live here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Tickets. Hopefully you guys are having a nice start to your week. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there, subscribe, and join the YouTube chat. Maybe you're watching via Twitter at __ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps. Maybe you're just listening via 1430 AM, cruising around in the car. How about Luke Goode cruising on Friday night, lighting it up? And he really needed to. He absolutely had to light it up the way that he did on Friday night. Here is what Luke Goode said after the loss to Illinois.
To all those fans that were booing and, are so negative on social media, just don't switch sides when we get this thing turned around. We all got the confidence in our teammates, got the confidence in our coaches. So just stay on that side when we start being successful again.
Luke Goode right there talking about don't switch sides and we start winning again, which was the reaction to losing back-to-back games a bit much from Indiana fans. You can make an argument, but at the same time, this is Indiana basketball. This is what the fans do, and it's part of why playing at Indiana or any other major college basketball program, it's why it's truly a gift. Like, Purdue fans don't do that. Like, if Purdue lost, back-to-back games by 25 plus, the outrage would not match the outrage of Indiana fans after losing back-to-back games. And Luke Goode, to go to the podium and say that, incredibly ballsy, so I'll give him a little bit of credit. And also risky, man. Just super risky, because if he had stunk it up against Ohio State, people would have been all over him. But he didn't do that. Instead, he had the best game of his career and was a large part of why Indiana beat Ohio State in overtime. 23 points, 7 of 14 from the floor, 4 of 7 from 3. That's what good players do. They show up in big games, and they played well. Indiana needed a leader. I don't know if I would call him a leader, but he set the tone with that press conference of, look, like, we are going to win games. That sets a tone. Okay, and I don't know if you remember, but earlier in the year when Indiana got off to a rough start, there's the clip of him in the huddle yelling at dudes and like clapping at guys, just trying to get them going. And it is important to have guys like that on your team. It's even more important to have guys like that who talk and then back it up. With that being said, let's keep it going. Tomorrow night, they're on the road. They're at Northwestern, another road game in the Big Ten. Tough to win road games in any conference. They need him to ball out again. They need him to play his butt off like he did against Ohio State and to shoot the crap out of the ball again. Because this team just desperately needs outside shooting. Okay, and he shot the ball incredibly well during that game. Oh, man. And Indiana desperately needed it. They also need for Anthony Leal to actually shoot the ball. That'd be really nice. He played 31 minutes, and he only took one shot. That's absurd to me. Okay, like, take more shots. Please, Anthony Leal. You can shoot it. We've seen you do it. So when you're open, just take the frickin' shot. Speaking of taking shots, that's what, a lot of offenses did against the Colts defense this year. Just deep ball. Malik Neighbors, these corners can't guard you. Let's hang 45 on this Colts defense, and let's let Drew Lock throw for 350 yards, or however many it was. All of those debacles defensively led to the Indianapolis Colts firing Gus Bradley, the scapegoat for this year's Chris Ballard regime. And they've officially hired Lou Anaroumo as the Colts' new defensive coordinator. I think this is a great hire. I think it's a great hire. But Jonathan, he just got fired by the Bengals, and they didn't even make the playoffs. Sure. But let's look at his entire tenure in Cincinnati. He was there for 6 seasons. He put together multiple good defenses, including in 2022 when his defense was so good that they actually made it to the Super Bowl. His defense beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. One of two defenses to do that in Patrick Mahomes' entire NFL career. Okay. In that year, 2022, when they made a run to the Super Bowl, they ranked 7th in yards allowed. They were 5th in points allowed, and they were 10th in red zone defense. And they gave up the 11th fewest third down conversions in the NFL. Okay, Lou Anaroumo is a good defensive coordinator amongst some of the better ones in the NFL. Okay, in the playoffs in 2022, against the best teams in the NFL, the Bengals defense gave up 20.5 points per game during that playoff run. That's really impressive. Last year, they didn't make the playoffs because Joe Burrow got hurt. Right? The defense was still good, though. They gave up, a few more points and a few more yards just because they were on the field more. Okay, that's what happens when your starting quarterback gets hurt. You tend to give up more points because your offense just isn't on the field as much. But they were still good in the areas that mattered. The best defenses in the NFL are great in the red zone. They give up field goals, not touchdowns. And they get off the field on third down. That was the Colts' biggest issue this year. They couldn't get off the field on third down. And last year, the Bengals were 11th in third down defense. Okay, the total numbers went up once again because they were on the field a little bit more. Then going into this year, something important happened. Joe Burrow's contract kicked in. And they started to have to move some money around so that they could afford to pay Jamar Chase at the end of the season, who's going to be probably the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL by the time negotiations are over. And because of that, the Bengals defense took some hits, and it led to them being atrocious this year. The Bengals got rid of their all-pro safety. They got rid of their best defensive tackle. They got rid of their third best pass rusher. Sam Hubbard has regressed with age. Von Bell, their other safety that's not all-pro but is still pretty good. Yeah, he's not there anymore. They lost several important and impactful defensive players. And this is what happens when you sign your quarterback to a big contract. Like, you have to cut ties with good players to be able to afford that quarterback. And the Bengals did what we've seen a lot of teams do. We've seen the Chiefs do it to absolute perfection these last 3 years. They got rid of a bunch of defensive guys, but they have invested a lot of draft capital, the Bengals, on the defensive side of the football. A lot of draft capital on defense. The issue is the Bengals general manager missed on all of those picks. It's hard to win games and be good when you don't have good players. You can be the best coach in the world, but if you don't have good players, you're not going to win. You're not. That's the reality of it. And the Bengals had to get rid of a lot of their better defensive players to pay Joe Burrow. And they missed on the draft picks to replace them. When Lou Anaroumo has good players, he creates good defenses. He does. He creates elite defenses, defenses that can beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs and turn him over multiple times. Now, you can say, well, Jonathan, the Colts don't have good players on defense. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. They don't. But everything that I've read about Lou Anaroumo, because I don't understand the X's and O's of football well enough just to watch and know. Everything that I've read says that Lou runs a very different defensive scheme than, our guy, Gus Bradley. A little more aggressive, a little more shape-shifty, show you one thing, do another, whereas Gus Bradley's like, yeah, here are our cards. This is what we're going to do. So it's different, which means you need different players if you're going to play that style on defense. So my hope, I doubt that this is going to happen. My hope is that because the Colts need a different style of players, especially at linebacker and in the back end of the defense, my hope is that we see the Colts go out in free agency and get those guys. I hope we see them go get a Dre Greenlaw. I hope we see them go get a safety that can really play and not bring back Julian Blackmon for another season. Okay? Go out, make the adjustments, go get the players that Lou Anaroumo needs so that he can run his defense. That is what we need to see from Chris Ballard this offseason. Will we see it? Probably not. I'll believe it when I see it, but that is my biggest hope, that Chris Ballard has to go get free agents on the defensive side of the ball so that Lou Anaroumo can actually run his defense. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Purdue has turned a corner. Purdue, man, it's a good team. It's a good team. I think they're the best. I think they're the best in the Big Ten. That's how good I think Purdue is, and I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. The real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. What's going on? Notre Dame losing last night to Ohio State. Ohio State is your 2024-2025 college football national champions. In other news, though, Purdue, man, they're rolling. Ranked 11th in the country. They've won 7 in a row. And I think they might be the best team in the Big Ten. I mean, I was a little hesitant to say that about them, but they're sitting in second place in the Big Ten right now. They're really good, obviously, right? It's Purdue, right? This is what we've come to expect from them, right? We expect them to be good every single year. And they've just kind of found a way this year. Daniel Jacobson, star freshman, 7 foot whatever, throw it to him on the block. He can go score. He can protect the rim. He gets hurt early. And it felt like they were scrambling and searching, trying to figure out what they were going to do to replace him. And they didn't have an answer for the longest time. They're mixing and matching. It was a really rough stretch for them. But since the Auburn game, they haven't lost. They've won 7 games in a row, including a win on Saturday where they went to Eugene and beat a top 15 ranked Oregon team by 7. That's impressive. Winning Big Ten games on the road is so incredibly hard to do. And we've seen Purdue do it now in back-to-back games, going to Washington, which is tough because it's forever away from here, and then going to Eugene, which is also forever away from here. And the reason why they're beating these teams, the reason why it feels like they've turned a corner, the reason why it feels like they're the best team in the Big Ten right now is because Caleb Furst has found a role. They have found a guy who can anchor their defense. They found a guy who can finish around the rim. He was really big in that game against Washington, didn't miss a shot, wasn't as big against Oregon, but that's okay. Trey Kaufman got it done. Caleb Furst has found a role, and it's great. It is countercultural to everything in college basketball right now. Caleb Furst, played his freshman year, played his sophomore year, barely played last year. Caleb Furst barely saw the floor. And in today's day and age of college basketball, that means you hit the transfer portal. That means you look around and you say, geez, I'm a junior and I'm not playing at all. Yeah, I got this Daniel Jacobson kid coming in who's 7'2" and supposed to be really good. Yeah, I'm out of here. That is what most student athletes do now. They leave and they go somewhere else and they get an NIL deal and they make, a whole bunch of money and whatever. And they go somewhere where they can play. But that is not what Caleb Furst did. He stayed. He stuck it out. And he's reaping the benefits of it by having a really important role on this team. Love Caleb Furst. I love that he stuck around, even though it looked like there was a decent chance he wasn't going to get to play this year. But he stayed anyway, and he's carved out a role for himself. And he's fun to watch. Like I said, he protects the rim, has good hands, finishes around the rim, sets good screens, does everything that you need for your center to do. In addition to Caleb Furst figuring things out and being a real contributor for this Purdue team, the freshman starting to play better. CJ Cox, I like him. He's shifty. The way he moves with the ball is it's pleasing to the eye. It is. So, he's starting to play more. He's been starting, and which is a good thing because Purdue needs another guy who can handle the ball. He's engaged defensively. The Harris freshman as well. He's interesting. There are some moments where I'm like, can we please get this guy off the floor? And there are other moments where I'm like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. So he's a little up and down, but the freshmen are starting to contribute. And then of course you've got 2 guys in Trey Kaufman and Braden Smith who can go get shots for themselves or for someone else whenever they need to. And it's made easier on them because they have a plethora of shooting. Just so many guys who can go and shoot the basketball. Okay, when you defend 2 guys, when you defend Purdue and you have to worry about these 2 guys who can go get shots, and you also have to stay attached to whoever you're guarding because you know that if you leave them, they're liable to hit a 3-point shot. It makes them hard to guard. And so, like, the offense looks good, which isn't surprising. Matt Painter is a really good head coach who kind of finds ways to, get his best players the ball in the right spot. We saw him do it, the past 2 years with Zach Edey. We're seeing him do it this year with Braden Smith, just kind of helping him along. Helping him along. Braden Smith's the best player in the country. What am I talking about? Anyway, they're really impressive on the offensive side of the ball. But to me, the reason why they're winning all these games and the reason why they look like the best team in the Big Ten right now is this defense. It's their defense. They haven't given up 70 points in their last 7 games. It's impressive. All 7 of those games, except for one, I think they played Toledo in there, have been conference games. Aside from that, in 6 of those 7 games, they've given up less than 65 points. They gave up 58 to Oregon, top 15 team, on Saturday. I'm not smart enough to look at coverages and kind of how they're doing so well defensively, but I know that they're doing really well. I know that they're defending it as well as any other team in the Big Ten right now. And it's impressive. We saw this high-powered offense go on a run to the national title game last year. The identity of this team feels like it has shifted. Last year, it's like, we got a ton of talent. We got a ton of shooting. Let's just go out-talent people and make sure that the best player in the country touches the ball. It's like, all right, we can do that. And then this year, we know that Braden Smith's going to make just enough plays for us to win. We know that if we need a bucket on the inside, Trey Kaufman can go get it. And we're going to defend our freaking tails off, and we're going to be tough, and we're going to win because we're smart. Aside from the 12 turnovers that they committed against Oregon, they played well. And they tend to not turn the ball over that much. And it's impressive. Like, when I watch college basketball, I find myself asking the question why a lot. Why did you double there? Why'd you take that shot? Why didn't you make the pass to that wide open cutter? I asked that question a lot. I watch Purdue, though. Not really. It's like, oh, that makes sense. That guy's good at that. That's why they gave him the ball there. He just missed a shot. Whatever. Right? Matt Painter is once again doing his thing. Just taking what he has and finding a way to win with it. And it is incredibly, incredibly impressive. It's either the best team in the Big Ten right now. I know people are going to push back and say Michigan State, because it's Tom Izzo and they're 7-0 in conference play and all that kind of stuff. That's great. They don't shoot the ball very well. That's my concern with Michigan State. And they say, oh, what about Michigan? I think the reason why people like Michigan is because Dusty May was the hottest name in coaching for the last couple of years. Right? And then he shows up and he's got this Danny Wolf kid who's playing point guard at 7 feet tall. They're running, 2 7-footers in a screen and roll. Like, it's just, what they're doing is just, it's weird and it looks cool and it's a real problem to stop. Like, Michigan and Michigan State are 2 really good basketball teams. I just don't think that they're playing quite as well as Purdue is right now. I mean, Michigan got beat by Minnesota, a team that was 0-6 in conference play not that long ago. Okay, Illinois, they're playing really well right now too. So Purdue, though, like, they look really good right now. They do. And I am very intrigued to see if the defense that they're playing continues to be played at this level. Is part of it their competition? I mean, I don't know, maybe. But then again, they held Oregon to 58 points. They're going to play Ohio State tonight at 7:30. Geez, tough game there for Coach Diebler. And then they play Michigan. And that is when I'm going to be very intrigued to see what they look like, because Michigan's going to be one of the better teams that they've played, the best team that they've actually no, because they just played Oregon. Their schedule's been tough, man. They're good. And I can't wait to watch them play Michigan. Ohio State tonight. That game's at 7:30. I'm assuming on the Big Ten Network, if I had to take a guess. No, it's on Peacock. Gosh dang it. I hate that they put games on Peacock. On the bright side, they didn't put any playoff games in the NFL on there this year. That game against Indiana is coming up in a week and a half. Can't wait for that game. It's going to be awesome. That game's on Fox. I think that's a Friday night as well. So we're only, 10 days away from that. So can't wait for that first matchup. Speaking of matchups, Ohio State greatly outmatched Notre Dame last night. Outside of that first drive from Notre Dame and that late run aided by the Ibuka fumble, Ohio State was clearly better. Like, even when Notre Dame was mounting that comeback last night, I never had a moment where I was like, Notre Dame might pull this off. Had no worries about that whatsoever. The only thing I worried about was my Ohio State minus 8.5 bet, which ended up cashing because they won by 11. So, yeah, but aside from that first drive, I mean, it was all Ohio State. They ran the ball for 214 yards to Notre Dame's 53. They averaged 5.2 yards per carry to Notre Dame's 2. Ohio State was 9 of 12 on third down. This dominant offense that we've seen the entire playoff showed up and then some. Will Howard was 17 of 21 passing. You can't play man-to-man against this Ohio State team, and that's what Notre Dame wants to do. They want to line up, they want to play man-to-man, and they want to challenge you. And you can do that. Notre Dame can, at least, against most teams, because most teams don't have 3 receivers that are going to play in the NFL. And they just kind of got exposed there. Guys were running open pretty consistently, and if they weren't open, Will Howard was able to take off and scramble. Will Howard played one of his best games of the year. I think the biggest stat to point to show how dominant Ohio State was Notre Dame came out and held the football for like 10 minutes. That opening drive took them 9 minutes and 45 seconds, 18 plays. 9 of them were Riley Leonard runs. They only threw the ball 5 times on that drive. And despite that, usually when you have a 10-minute drive, you win time of possession. Yeah, Notre Dame didn't. Ohio State won time of possession last night, despite giving up a 9-minute, 45-second touchdown drive. Okay, Ohio State won time of possession 32.5 minutes to 27.5 minutes. And that to me is like, it is so revealing as to how dominant Ohio State was. Okay, I mean, after that first drive for a touchdown, it was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out. Just really quick drives after that. Meanwhile, Ohio State scored. They scored points on their first 5 drives, fumbled it on their 6th, punted it on their 7th, and then scored once again on their 8th. And this Notre Dame defense that has been stellar all season just wasn't good enough. A large part of that, I think, was the injuries, especially on the interior of their defensive line. They've got a couple guys there who are going to play in the NFL. Their leading sack getter is a defensive tackle, and they couldn't generate any pressure last night against Ohio State. Kirk Herbstreit did a fantastic job, as he always does, and he pointed it out pretty early. He was like, Notre Dame is small on that line, and you could tell with the push that Ohio State got, like 280-pound defensive tackles are not what you want to roll out there against a Big Ten team or an SEC team or any team really at the peak levels of college football. But when you're injured, you got to roll with what you have. I think Marcus Freeman did an excellent job getting all of the juice out of this orange on his team this year. They showed who they were. Tough, but they just didn't have the horses that Ohio State does. And that's a recruiting thing. Marcus Freeman, go hit the portal. You made a whole lot of money. Revenue sharing is starting up here really soon. And so Notre Dame's going to have a lot of money to throw at these guys. And so they're not going anywhere. The question is just whether or not they can find enough players that are smart enough to get into their school, and if they can then actually get them to commit there. So congrats to Ohio State, a team that was more than deserving of winning the national title. We knew before the year started that they were likely going to be the best team in the country because they're that good. And, it only took them a full regular season to figure it out, but they did. And when they did figure it out, no one really stood much of a chance. Texas, they had a shot there late, but, Sawyer made a great play that'll live on forever in not just Ohio State history, but just in the history of college football. That's going to do it here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Hopefully you had a nice time listening to the show. If you want to be more interactive, if you want to interact with the show, head over to YouTube, subscribe to Indy's Sports Ticket. It's going to be a lot of fun. Subscribe, join the live stream there tomorrow. Hop in the chat, comment on all of the things that I say. The Dan Dockett Show is coming your way next. He's going to be on from noon to 3. I know we got Tom Brenneman. He's going to join at 1 o'clock, probably to talk Ohio State, their win last night over Notre Dame. And then they'll talk about that. He lives in Cincinnati. He's going to know Lou and Anaroumo well, just being in Cincinnati and covering the Bengals and doing all that. So he's going to have thoughts on the Colts' new defensive coordinator. That's coming up at 1 o'clock. Purdue, they're playing tonight. I hope they can keep it rolling because that's a good basketball team. I also just called them the best team in the Big Ten. So if they lose tonight to Ohio State after I said that, then I'll have to walk that back tomorrow. But that defense, it's impressive. It is. 7 straight games have given up less than 70 points. I think that speaks for itself. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune into The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I will talk to you tomorrow from 10 to noon. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way next.